Alright, what's up YouTube? Today we're going to design some ice fishing baits. Up here in Wisconsin we use ice fishing terminal tackle for panfish that's very, very small. So I'm talking about like micro fishing. We're talking 40 to 50 millimeter baits, maybe 6 millimeter profiles, sorry. Really tiny baits, and we're using really small, really thin diameter lines, so like 3-pound test, something like that on an inline fishing reel. So we're really toning down the size and aggressiveness of our baits for the fish when they're in a slow, kind of lethargic state when it's really cold, water. 4 degrees Celsius water is pretty cold. So there's a few different guys that make lures in Wisconsin for this type of fishing. You can buy similar types of small soft plastics from Impulse, makes some. The whip specifically is what I'm talking about. It's a small triangle. It's about that long, really soft plastic, so it's got really good action in the water. I'm going to try and replicate that today. It won't be exactly the same because I'm not going to use the same dimensions and everything, but we're going to give it a whirl just to see if it's something that you can do pretty easily with a 3D printer and a couple tubs of VAC 50. If that's something you're interested in, stick around for the design portion in this video. I'm going to call this series, I think, Design a Lure, because why not? If I'm doing it anyways, might as well take you guys with me. Alright, welcome back. Alright, that'll be the only cut in the whole video. If you're interested in the whip, the small micro fishing lure I'm talking about, it should be down in the description. I'll put a link down there for the guy that makes it up here in Wisconsin. But what we're going to do is use Fusion 360. And Fusion 360 is a little bit different than any other software that you've probably been using. It's its own separate environment. Takes a little getting used to. Am I a pro at it? No, I'm not. Definitely not at all. I'm still struggling through it, but I think that this is such an easy project here that I can show you some of the basics and hopefully help you with what I struggled with for about the first just even 3 weeks of using this thing, just figuring out how to go about the environment. So Fusion 360 is a free download trial, and then you can also get a free license if you're just a hobby enthusiast and you make something absurd like less than $100,000 from its use in a year. They classify you as a hobbyist. You can get a license for that. There's other videos about how to do that. Make anything. Devin Montez has a great video on using Fusion 360 and getting the license. So I'll probably put that link down in the description. It's a great software package. Like I said, not an expert on it. If there's other easier ways to do this, feel free to put it down in the comments, but this is just a design lure episode, so we're just gonna struggle through it. And if you're thinking about trying to do some more CAD modeling and use Fusion 360, go ahead and watch, and hopefully you get something from it when we go through this. So Fusion 360 runs in a sketch-based environment, so anything you do is going to be a sketch on 3 planes: the X, the Y, or the Z, and they use them in front, top, back, right. This is all in orientation to those axes, right? So what I'm just going to do here is I'm going to find, hopefully, if I don't confuse myself, a bunch. Basically, I'm just going to go to where this says front, that says bottom. I'm going to go to front. I'm just going to do I'm going to start a sketch here. So when I go up to sketch and create, I can pick, if you do shift and you hold down the roll mouse button, this is how I have mine set up, but do the roll mouse button, you can see there's 3 options for you to pick where you start your sketch, right? So I'm going to go, I don't know, I'll probably just I'll do it like this. So we're at the front essentially, and you're in a sketch because you have the sketch palette open up. And then we're going to go to where we want to start our sketch, and now we have to decide what we want to put in our sketch. So if you go under the sketch selection dialog, There's either a rectangle, circle, arc, polygon. We want to do a small triangle, so I'm going to do one of these three options. An edge polygon will put the edge at a specific spot. The circumscribed polygon will be centered around whatever point you decide, and an inscribed polygon kind of bases it around the outer circle instead of what you define on the inside of the polygon. So we're going to do edge polygon. I'm going to just start here in the center of the sketch. I'm going to go out to 6 millimeters because that's what I want one side to be. And then you can see that it opens up a polygon shape over it. So when I'm inside of a sketch and an active working on a feature, I can move around by holding down the button on the scroll mouse. And then I'm just going to put in here how many sides I want. We want 3. Want it to be a triangle. It's going to make it all equal on all the angles, which I believe is an isosceles triangle. You can go ahead and flame the comments if that's wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's it. So then I'm just going to hit enter, and that's our sketch for a triangle. So now that's sitting in our front section on our Z plane. I don't even think it's on the Z, be truthful with you. I don't know why Fusion 360 does this, but the front apparently is the top. That's what it looks like, because Z is going up and down. You can see that in the upper right corner. So it has like bottom the other way and X and Y. We'll see how it exports, but not too worried about it. So we have that sketch done, so I'm going to just stop sketch. It's very simple, right? Very simple. Then I'm going to go to the top. Now that sketch disappears, right? Because we're looking at it two-dimensionally. And I'm just going to add a line. Line tool is about as simple as you can get. I'm putting it on the sketch plane from the top. I'm going to go from the center here. I'm going to let it auto snap a straight line, and I'm going to set it to 50 millimeters. You can also type in this box that shows up now 50, and it'll make it 50. You can also tab through all the boxes, so if I wanted it at a 45-degree angle, I can set it there, but we want it at 90. So then I'm going to hit enter, and now we have an actual line there extending from our triangle. So we should be able to see that. There we go. So it's a triangle with the line coming out the back. Now what I want to do here is, all I want to do is I wanted that to be able to print, right? It's going to be a long three-dimensional triangle, and all I wanted that to do was to print in that direction. Sorry, that made no sense. What I wanted to do was have a flat portion on the print bed and then print up to the triangle. So we want to have the, instead of tapering it from the center of the triangle, I want to have the base be the flattest part of the triangle, so when it does print, that it prints easier than having to put supports or something if the taper was in the center of the triangle. If you're picking up what I'm throwing down. So what I'm going to do here now is, there's all sorts of ways. So now I'm going to stop this sketch because we have a line for how long we want it, and we have a triangle for the front face of it. Now Fusion 360, the whole premise behind it is you take sketches of lines and of polygons, and you either extrude them or you revolve them, you sweep them, you loft them, you do different things to them to give those polygons and sketches some body to them, right? Some way of them to have three-dimensional density. So there's a whole bunch of different modifications like these. They're all called. There's the create functions. I mean, there's modify as well, which is something we'll get into with another design lure, but for the purpose of this, these create functions are like, you can sweep along a specific line. You can make this triangle go along a path, right, that you already preset. There's lofting type stuff. There's sweeps, extrudes, that sort of thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a loft. Now what a loft does is it takes one profile and pushes that profile all the way to another, a separate profile. But in our case, we're going to do the triangle to the point. So I'm going to do a loft, and I'm going to select that. Well, I'm not going to select that. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to select this large profile here, the triangle itself, and then the second one is going to be this point. And then right there, automatically, it takes that triangle, it keeps it, we'll say okay, it keeps it on that axis, and then it brings it down to that point. We got this really nice extruded part now, and then that's all we want. That's our lure right there. It's very similar to the whip. It'll be a little bit different when it's 3D printed, but that's the whip. So then what I've done is I've thrown that into Tinkercad, and I've used Tinkercad to make that into a printable mold base. I'll show a picture of that now. And yeah, so then we can cast that in some VAC 50 and see if we can't inject it to make our own whips. So similar kind of deal. The wedgie is also very similar. That's there's a custom jig and spins. CJS has a wedgie type lure as well, but I'm thinking this one will be really nice for kind of just something different, a little more texture on it, and easier to make. So the last step, really, when you're done with something, when you're done with a body you want, is you go to the, this is what I do anyway, I go to the body, and then you can see it's highlighted. I'll right click it and then save as STL. Make sure that you have everything that you want on there. You can do high, medium, low, or custom refinements, but honestly the base settings are fine. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, maybe feel free to subscribe. We're just a community of crazy makers that do different things, and my big thing is fishing and 3D printing and trying to integrate those two things. So if that's something you're into, maybe subscribe to the channel. And if not, I'll see you on the next video that comes around in your recommended feed. Keep your amps up and your filament dry.